Oh yes, yo chicken bros, what's up? It's your boy Smile here coming at you with a brand new video. And this right here, is why I left gaming news. You cannot do gaming news anymore without being forced into politics. And that is sad, like I said in the last video. But here's the thing. This article is stupid. Completely stupid. Man behind Pelosi hammer attack was radicalized by Gamergate. Alleged post from David DePape's now deleted blog suggests he was connected to the far-right movement. Now, I want to mention first, why? This was a madman. We all know he was a madman, he was a nudist. He has far more understandings in the left wing. I mean, as of the day that he was found out, he had pride flags, BLM flags. That would assume he could have been far right, but radically altered to the left, for all I know. How about we get journalists to ask him what his political leanings are? Anywho, if you're new to the channel, please don't forget to leave a like, share, subscribe, hit that bell, make it ring a ding ding. And let's get into today's video now, shall we? On October 28th, San Francisco police arrested a man for attacking Nancy Pelosi's husband with a hammer. Now it has been reported that he may have been inspired by the far-right movement Gamergate. Question. Gamergate was basically backlash for losing trust in gaming news articles because they were going too heavily political. From my knowledge, that is what they are. Why would this prove anything else? Why would this prove otherwise? This right here, all this, just proves the point that my knowledge of Gamergate shows. I mean, seriously. Anywho, let's continue. On October 28th, San Francisco police arrested a man for attacking Nancy Pelosi's husband with a hammer. Now it's been reported that he may have been inspired by the far-right movement Gamergate. Let me just mention for a moment, excuse me, the far-right hates video gamers just as much as the left does. The right blames gamers for violence more times than they don't. And the left, they just use them as one of their scapegoats, really. So, how is this a far-right movement by any stretch of the imagination? You could be a part of Gamergate and not right-wing. David DePape was looking for U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi when he broke into her house over the weekend. He asked her husband, Paul Pelosi, where his wife was, and then attacked him with a hammer. Paul Pelosi is currently hospitalized with a skull fracture and hand injuries, but is expected to make a full recovery. Prayers to Paul, I hope he is better. But, why would he be influenced by Gamergate right now? I want to know genuinely, Otaku, or Kotaku, when it is at the midterms, huge stuff is happening all over. Let me ask you a few questions here. Number one. Nancy was already booed on stage. We all know that nobody likes Nancy Pelosi right now. We all know that. So we could assume any party affiliation could have went after Nancy but got her husband. We could assume that. Very logical assumption. Number two, you look at what has been happening over the past few weeks, months, and so forth. There have been a lot of right-wing movements. Like, they are moving further and further. Look at the polls these days. The right is currently doing very well. How much you want to bet a left-winger could be mad about that and go after the people who are screwing up the left-wing party right now? That could be a fair point to make. So there are other possibilities. I'm not saying any of these are true by any stretch of the imagination. I'm saying we don't have the evidence, and until we do, all we can do is speculate. Yes, this is speculation, and I can understand why they're speculating Gamergate. It's useful to them, but I don't think that's the complete answer here. And even if it was, it wouldn't make him far right. The attacker reportedly ran a now deleted Wix blog where he posted a conspiracy theory about QAnon, the Holocaust, sex rings run by the Democratic Party, and coronavirus. How did I get into all this? He allegedly wrote on August 23rd. Gamergate. It was Gamergate. Okay, let me give you something here. I am pretty sure he means that when people lost trust in the gaming news articles, he lost trust in every article, every journalist. And that is a problem. Because you're supposed to be asking the questions, but instead you don't. And so now you get people all over America starting to ask the questions for themselves and not believe a dang thing that they already know. So you, in essence, are radicalizing by not asking questions. Now, I don't blame you for what happened. Obviously, he did it on his own merit. He is at fault. But because journalism is no longer journalism, but promotion of the left-wing party at the moment, there is little trust to be had. Gamergate was a hate movement that started in 2014, but still exists in various forms today. Its proponents claim to champion ethics in game journalism. In practice, they harassed and threatened women who worked in games or wrote about them. Gamergate was not legitimate criticism of journalistic objectivity, but a label that allowed small and sad individuals to weaponize their bigotry. Okay, let me mention something to you. If you're a woman working in the gaming field, amazing, perfect, I'm glad. But there is no journalistic integrity anymore. I'm reading articles and explaining what's wrong with them with clear understanding that you are trying to convince me of something. You're not informing. Every news article, every article is an argumentative article these days and not informative. So when I'm reading this, I understand what you're doing, so I'm going to run cross-checks. I'm going to look into it. I'm going to find the answers for myself. And if you're wrong, that just proves that you're trying to prove a point that doesn't exist. Gamergate didn't admit right-wing extremism, but it taught a segment of the internet conservatives that they could shut down growing influence of feminism if they used targeted violence against individuals. Feminists such as Anita Sakersine, Felicia Day, and Brianna Wu have received death threats for criticizing the movement. For nearly a decade, women faced increasing security and harassment for daring to write about video games at all. Okay, I would have to go through and read some of their articles, but if they were getting death threats, I would assume it was either psychos or trolls, and I'm no part of either. To blame the entire right wing for a psychopath is wrong, just like I don't blame the entire Democratic Party for DePape and what he did to Paul Pelosi. I'm pretty sure, I have pretty well thought out that he is more than likely not Republican. I don't think he's the most GOP guy out there. If you're reading this in 2022, then you probably know that these culture warriors lost the battle. Gaming communities are more conscious about gender equality than they were a decade ago, and the industry has improved on diversity over time. But people who were radicalized through the movement will go on to support other extremist causes. Their tactics were so cohesive that Steve Bannon borrowed them for Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. Gamergate personalities were also key in organizing the January 6th, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol building. The attack on Nancy Pelosi's residency is not an anomaly, but part of a longer pattern in how Gamergaters use violence to intimidate those they disagree with politically. You're kidding me. That last paragraph. Oh, there's more? Okay. That is sad. You're gonna throw all that in there, okay? There's a lot to dissect in this article. Number one, Gamergaters might have supported Donald Trump, but what is so bad about him right now? Like, he's not in office. Sure, he had a very, very abrasive personality. If I sat down and talked to him, I don't know how well we get along. He's a very abrasive person. But his policies worked, at least that. They also were key in organizing January 6th. From my knowledge, cops let them in. Let them in! And there was a lot of misunderstanding in January 6th, so I don't know the truth here. I don't think... I can easily say, yeah, you shouldn't have done what you did in January 6th. But I think it was a bit staged, honestly. I mean, I could be wrong. And the attack on Nancy Pelosi's house not being an anomaly, sure. But how many people on the left has done the exact same thing? How many people on the left have tried to ruin people's lives with the cancel culture? How many people on the left has done things like that? I already know I'm going to be canceled, and I'm okay with that. Because guess what? Elon has Twitter. I'm sure I'll be fine. Our children, our grandchildren, and I are heartbroken and traumatized by the life-threatening attack on our pop, Nancy Pelosi wrote on her official website. We are grateful for the quick response of law enforcement, but defund the police, and emergency services, and for the life-saving care he is receiving. That's great. That's great. You know, I'm glad. I am amazed at how well they are healing him and the fact that he will be saved. He is an 80-year-old man who got hit in the head with a hammer. It speaks volumes to the medical ability we have right now as a society. But, let me throw this out there. Why? Why is this at all needed in a Kotaku article? I want to remind you, Kotaku talks about, let's look, tips and guides, reviews, cultures, like video game culture and the culture, pop culture stuff. Let's go to the homepage for a moment. Let's just go to the homepage for a moment. Talking about The Witcher. Video game studios through expensive River brand is immediately shut down. God of War. PlayStation Plus. Video games are giving up on the idea that we can save the world. I mean, this is gaming news, people. Gaming news. And you have this. You have this. Can somebody explain that to me? But with all that being said, Yo Man Smile is over and out. Peace.